There's a certain thrill in browsing Craigslist, scrolling through endless listings in search of the perfect deal. Maybe it's a piece of furniture for your new apartment, a used bike, or something you never knew you needed until you saw the price. For most of us, it's just another part of modern life, an easy way to connect with strangers and trade what we have for what we want. The messages are quick, the meetings are casual, and the sense of danger feels far away, hidden behind the glow of a screen. But what if the scariest moments of your life started with a simple online ad? What if the promise of a bargain was just the beginning of a nightmare? Tonight, you'll hear 3 true stories that will make you rethink every message, every meeting, and every deal you make online. These aren't urban legends or cautionary tales. They're real experiences, lived by real people who never expected their search for a good deal to end in fear. Stay with me until the end, because after these stories, you might never look at Craigslist or any online marketplace the same way again. It started with a simple Craigslist ad: "Free couch, must pick up today." As a broke college student moving into my first apartment, it felt like fate. The photos showed a slightly worn but perfectly usable couch, and the seller's message was friendly, if a little rushed. "First come, first served," he wrote. "Text for address." I replied immediately, and within minutes, I had directions to a small house on the edge of town. The drive out was uneventful, but as I pulled up to the address, a sense of unease crept in. The house was older, paint peeling from the siding, the yard overgrown. A single porch light flickered in the dusk. I texted the seller, and the door opened almost instantly. A man in his late 40s waved me in, his smile wide but not quite reaching his eyes. "You're here for the couch?" he asked, voice too eager. I nodded, trying to ignore the way he kept glancing over his shoulder. Inside, the house was cluttered and dim, the air thick with the smell of mildew and something metallic. The couch sat in the living room, just as pictured, but it looked heavier and more worn up close. "It's all yours," the man said, hovering behind me as I inspected it. "You can take your time. I'll get you some water." He disappeared into the kitchen, leaving me alone. I tried to lift one end of the couch, but it barely budged. As I struggled, I noticed deep scratches on the wooden floor beneath it, as if it had been dragged back and forth many times. The walls were lined with old family photos, but every face was scratched out. My unease grew, but I told myself I was being paranoid. The man returned, holding a glass of water. "It's heavy, isn't it?" he said, watching me drink. "I can help you load it, but the basement door sticks. Sometimes I have to go down there to get the dolly." He gestured toward a door at the end of the hall, its paint chipped and handle rusted. "Wait here. I'll be right back." As soon as he disappeared, I heard a muffled thud from the basement, followed by a low, guttural moan. My heart pounded. I set the glass down and moved toward the front door, but it was locked. I tried the windows, nailed shut. Panic rising, I grabbed my phone, but there was no signal. The man's footsteps echoed up the basement stairs. I ducked behind the couch, heart racing. He emerged, breathing heavily, dragging an old dolly behind him. "Sorry about that," he said, eyes darting around the room. "Sometimes things get stuck down there." He set the dolly by the couch and motioned for me to help lift it. As we maneuvered the couch toward the door, I caught a glimpse of the basement, dark, cluttered, and lined with shelves of jars filled with unidentifiable things. A single, bare bulb swung from the ceiling, casting wild shadows. The man's grip tightened on my arm as we reached the threshold. "Careful," he whispered. "It's easy to lose your footing." I pulled away, adrenaline surging. "Actually, I just remembered I have to go. My roommate's waiting for me." I tried to sound casual, but my voice shook. The man's smile faded. "You sure? It's a good couch. You won't find another like it." He blocked the door, his frame filling the entryway. I forced a laugh. "Maybe I'll come back tomorrow with help." I squeezed past him, fumbling with the lock until it finally gave. I bolted to my car, not looking back until I was halfway down the street. In the rearview mirror, I saw the man standing on the porch, watching me leave, his face expressionless. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the sounds from the basement, the scratched-out faces, the locked doors. The next day, I checked the Craigslist ad. It was gone. I never saw the man or the house again, but sometimes, when I drive past that part of town, I wonder what was really waiting in the basement. Most people never find out what's really behind a free offer. Sometimes, the best deal is the one you walk away from. The internet has made it easier than ever to find what we need, but it's also made it easier for danger to hide in plain sight. Every day, thousands of people meet strangers from classified ads, trusting that a few messages and a friendly profile are enough to guarantee their safety. But the truth is, you never really know who's on the other side of the screen, or what their intentions might be. Did you know that nearly 1 in 10 people have reported feeling unsafe during an online marketplace transaction? It's a reminder that caution is never wasted, no matter how harmless the deal might seem. Simple steps, like meeting in public places, bringing a friend, and trusting your instincts, can make all the difference. Never let your guard down, even if everything feels normal at first, because sometimes the most ordinary exchanges can turn into something you never expected. If you thought the first story was disturbing, wait until you hear what happened during a midnight pickup. The next story will make you question every late-night message and every deal that seems just a little too convenient. Stay with me because the shadows get deeper the later it gets. I'd been searching for a used bike for weeks, hoping to find something cheap but reliable. Craigslist was full of options, but most were either too expensive or already sold. Then, late one night, I found the perfect listing. A barely used mountain bike at a price that seemed almost too good to be true. The seller responded quickly, but insisted on meeting after midnight in a remote parking lot on the edge of town. I hesitated, but the deal was too tempting to pass up. The night of the pickup, I drove out to the lot, my nerves on edge. The area was deserted, lit only by a few flickering streetlights. I parked near the entrance and texted the seller. Moments later, a car pulled up beside me, headlights off. The window rolled down just enough for a voice to call out, "You here for the bike?" I nodded, trying to sound confident. The seller stepped out, a man in a hooded jacket, and opened his trunk to reveal the bike. It looked just like the photos, but something about the way he kept glancing over his shoulder made me uneasy. I handed him the cash, and he motioned for me to take the bike. As I loaded it into my car, I noticed another car idling at the far end of the lot, its headlights off, windows tinted. "Is that your friend?" I asked, trying to keep my tone light. The seller shook his head, his eyes darting to the other vehicle. "No idea. They've been there since I got here." The tension in the air was thick, and I felt exposed under the harsh glow of the streetlights. I hurried to finish, but as I closed my trunk, the other car's engine roared to life and sped toward us. The seller bolted for his car, shouting, "Get out of here!" I jumped into the driver's seat and locked the doors just as the car screeched to a stop beside me. The window rolled down, and a masked face stared back at me, eyes cold and unblinking. For a moment, no one moved. Then the masked driver revved the engine and tried to block my exit. I slammed the car into reverse, tires squealing as I backed out and sped toward the main road. In my rearview mirror, I saw both cars following, headlights blinding in the darkness. My heart pounded as I weaved through empty streets, desperate to lose them. After what felt like an eternity, I finally reached a busy intersection. The cars peeled off in different directions, disappearing into the night. I pulled over, hands shaking, and tried to catch my breath. The bike sat in the back, a silent reminder of how close I'd come to something far worse than a bad deal. The next day, I checked the listing, it was gone, and the seller's number was disconnected. I never found out who was waiting in the shadows that night, or what would have happened if I'd stayed a moment longer. You won't believe who was really waiting in the shadows. Sometimes the best deals come with the highest price, and the scariest part of a midnight pickup isn't what you're buying, it's who's watching you buy it. Have you ever met a stranger from an online ad and felt something was off? Maybe it was the way they looked at you, the odd location they chose, or just a gut feeling you couldn't shake. Most of us brush it off, telling ourselves we're being paranoid, that nothing bad could really happen. But sometimes, those instincts are the only warning we get before things take a turn for the worse. Online marketplaces have made it easier than ever to connect with people, but they've also made it easier for danger to hide in plain sight. Every message, every meeting, is a leap of faith, and sometimes, the smallest detail can mean the difference between a harmless exchange and a story you'll never forget. If you've ever ignored that uneasy feeling, you're not alone. But the next story will make you think twice about trusting too quickly. Because sometimes the real danger isn't in the deal itself, it's in the secrets that come with it. Stay with me because the final story is the most unsettling of all. Some Craigslist mysteries are never solved, and some buyers never make it back home. I'd always loved hunting for vintage furniture, and Craigslist was my favorite place to find hidden gems. One Saturday morning, I spotted a listing for a beautiful old dresser, solid wood, ornate handles, the kind of piece you'd expect to see in an antique shop. The price was almost suspiciously low, but the photos looked real, and the seller's messages were polite, if a bit brief. She gave me an address on the outskirts of town and said to come by that afternoon. The house was easy to find, but as I pulled up, I felt a chill. The yard was overgrown, the paint on the porch peeling, and the windows dark. I knocked, but no one answered. I tried the bell, but it didn't work. I texted the seller, and after a few minutes, she replied, "Doors open, dressers in the back room, cash on the table, please." Something about it felt wrong, but curiosity and the promise of a bargain got the better of me. Inside, the house was silent and cold. The air smelled faintly of dust and something sour. The living room was empty except for a few boxes and a broken lamp. I called out, but only my own voice echoed back. I made my way down the hallway, the floorboards creaking under my feet. The back room was just as the photos showed. The dresser stood against the wall, a small envelope of cash on top. I set my own envelope beside it, then tried to move the dresser. It was heavier than it looked, and as I tugged, I noticed deep scratches on the floor, as if it had been dragged back and forth many times. Behind it, the wallpaper was torn, revealing a small, dark opening in the wall. My heart pounded as I shined my phone's flashlight inside. The space beyond was cramped and lined with old newspapers, empty bottles, and a pile of clothes that didn't look like they'd been touched in years. On the wall, someone had scrawled names and dates, some recent, some decades old. I backed away, suddenly desperate to leave. As I turned to go, I heard footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, moving toward the staircase. I froze, listening as the steps creaked down the hall. I called out, but there was no answer. The footsteps stopped just outside the back room. I held my breath, waiting, but whoever, or whatever, was there never appeared. I grabbed my keys and bolted, not bothering to close the door behind me. As I drove away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a figure standing in the upstairs window, watching me leave. The listing was gone by the time I got home, and the seller's number was disconnected. I never found out who lived in that house, or what happened to the people whose names were written on the wall. Some Craigslist mysteries are never solved, and some bargains come with a price you can't see until it's too late. Now, whenever I see a deal that seems too good to be true, I remember that empty house, the silent seller, and the feeling that I was never really alone. 3 stories, 3 reminders that the search for a simple bargain can lead to places you never imagined, and dangers you never saw coming. From the unsettling encounter with a free couch, to the midnight pickup that turned into a chase, to the abandoned house hiding secrets behind its walls. Each tale proves that the line between ordinary and terrifying is thinner than we think. The most innocent online exchanges can spiral into nightmares, and the people or places we trust most can sometimes become the source of our deepest fears. But these are just a few of the countless Craigslist horror stories out there. Every city has its own legends, every buyer and seller their own close call or unexplained encounter. Will you be the next to experience something you can't explain? Or have you already lived through a moment that still haunts you? Share your own stories in the comments below, because sometimes the scariest tales are the ones that come from real life, and your experience might be the next warning someone needs to hear. Stay alert, trust your instincts, and remember, The next message you answer could change everything.